Strategic direction in business is paramount. Without direction, you're going nowhere. You could climb a ladder and find out you're leaning against the wrong wall. AI is the way of the future. When you look at AI, what we've got coming up, you won't be able to survive without it, because people that are already putting into place are doing things faster, better, more efficient. Designed your mindset for what you want to become, not what you are right now.
What one key piece of advice would you like to give to all the entrepreneurs watching and listening today?
Good question. I get asked this one quite a lot, and it generally sort of goes between a couple of things. Number one, your mindset is your biggest key. All right, protect your mindset, whether it's emotionally, time, relational capital, whatever you do, your mindset is the key to you succeeding. And the other one is learn. If you're not learning, you're going backwards.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Show. I'm your host, Ethan Cassiotis, and today I have an awesome guest. His name is Daniel Kingston. He's an investor, international best-selling author, international business, and leadership coach. When growth stalls or complexity slows momentum, high-performing leaders turn to Daniel to unlock scalable success. And drawing on experience across 15-plus industries, he helps ambitious business accelerate outcomes through bold strategy, action-based execution, and systems that actually scale. And Daniel's leadership edge comes from real-world service under pressure. The military taught him precision, teamwork, and discipline, and law enforcement sharpened his ability to think tactically, communicate clearly, and operate decisively in critical moments. And while Daniel's core focus in commercial ventures center around mergers and acquisitions, as well as marketing and media businesses, his work is in coaching is personal. With a proven track record in strategic transformation, marketing acceleration, and leadership optimization, Daniel empowers leaders to shift from reactive problem solving to proactive growth. And the result is clearer direction, stronger teams, and organizations that thrive even in volatile markets. Welcome, Daniel, and thanks for being on the Business Growth Show.
Thank you very much, Adam. Welcome, and welcome to all your listeners today. Thank you very much for the invite.
You're welcome, mate. I'm sure it's going to be great for everyone watching, listening today. And you recently just interviewed, got interviewed on your podcast. So it's great to get you on mine as well. So, awesome to now, be able to share your knowledge to all of my listeners. So you are a successful entrepreneur. So for those people who don't know who you are, introduce yourself by telling us a bit more about you and your journey.
Yeah, thank you for asking. And I mean, I'm a little bit different. A lot of people come from a multitude of different backgrounds. So when I look at my law enforcement background, working in jails, it was about having the skill of dynamics, being able to move with an ever-changing environment, being able to put in tactical and strategies that actually meet multiple teams together for an outcome. And again, moving through into the military gave me that military precision. It's about strong leadership. It's about being able to lead people for a centralized objective. And when you look at those two, they're very much dominant, or right, sort of leadership that you have in there. And when I went from there into volunteerism, I've been a volunteer for 27 years as of this year through fire and rescue, surf lifesaving, a number of different other ones, mainly in the rescue industry, even now still in with the marine rescue. What that taught me is how to work through people, to bring people from different walks of life, to bring people from someone who's just sitting at home retired right through to a professional police, fire, ambulance that come in there and assist us, was being able to get multitudes of different people and get them directional into basically a standard objective at the end of that. Bring that over into over 20 years in business. Well, the experience speaks for itself. But I'm interested to see where our conversations go today.
Yeah, awesome, mate. It'd be such a unique background. I love that as well with, those areas of, like you said, discipline, leadership and strategy, and then bringing people together, and then how that, is very similar to business, on how you've got to work, right, with teams and everything there, and getting to that objective, like you said. So, yeah, I've been to many events where they've brought, people from these military backgrounds in, right, to teach these things. So it's, awesome to have that background. So let's get into it today. And I think the first part I want to talk about is strategy, right? Because I think this is really the key part about business, right? Is like, what's your strategy in your business? Are you going in that right direction? So I'd love to hear it, from your perspective on your take on strategy, why it's important, and how we should be looking at, strategy in our business.
And great question. Strategic direction in business is paramount. Without direction, you're going nowhere. You could climb a ladder and find out you're leaning against the wrong wall. Could be like an aircraft when they take off. They take off and they already know their destination. You can do the planning. You can put into place contingencies. And ironically, you have a look at aircraft. We use as an example. Boeing have a shutdown procedure in midair that if something happens, they actually shut the plane down and then restart it. A lot of people would be scared going, well, however, they plan before they go. One of their plans is having that strategic backfall of what happens, being able to risk manage. In business, paramount. If you don't have that in place, what happens is you become reactionary rather than proactive. If you're proactive, you already know what happens. If this happens, I'm going to do this. Doesn't necessarily mean to be with you. It could be procedures through a team, whatever. However, what it does, it gives you direction that when you do lose your direction, you already know where you're going. So strategic direction, massive thing when it comes to business. You look at a couple of things, even down to 90-day plans in personal development means that you are continuously developing. You're developing your teams, you're developing your systems, your processes. And we work on a three-pillar, which is systems, process, and people. If you've got them all strategically in a direction, that means that you're going to meet your goals. If you're not, you're going to be able to measure and manage what's not being done. So strategic direction, very, very big thing. Strategy is probably one of the key factors in success.
Yeah, I love it, mate. And especially the point about, if you do this, this will happen, right? It's like playing chess. I played chess growing up. It's the same thing, right? Understanding if this, because then especially like, from a negotiation perspective as well, right? When you're thinking about it there, right? Because you don't know what's going to
Oh,
happen.
definitely. So when you look at negotiations, a very big thing, whether it's negotiating, so I came from jails, whether it's just a standard operation to something that's a little bit higher. What about negotiating M&A, merger and acquisition? Negotiation without having what your goal is makes it very hard because all your questioning becomes really erratic. You haven't got a set direction. Now, you have a look at, we'll use M&A as an example. You know what deal you want at the start of that. You know what deal you want by the end of it. However, if your questions are always in that direction, you start to maintain control of the conversation. You start to move forward in that direction. So definitely negotiations and in that side of it, especially in communication, even very, very strong and powerful once you understand how it's done and start to implement it into your day-to-day life.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Love it. And let's talk about leadership now, because you've got a huge amount of leadership background, right? In the military and everything like that. And obviously in business, so important because, as much as we can start a business by ourselves, we can't, get it to grow to a decent level
That's
without
it.
other people in our business. So, how important is leadership and how should people be looking at being a better leader?
Great way of looking at it. Leadership, there's so many different directions. So you look at leadership, it has defined whole people's careers. From people like Simon Sinek and John Maxwell, they've defined their whole career just on leadership. So leadership itself, we could sit here for the next 2 hours talking just on leadership. So very big. When you have a look at it, what does leadership mean to you? There's a big question you've got to look at. Some people see it as someone who does the right thing. Other people might see as going, oh, yep, you have to do it this way. It's the person who gets people to do something. If you look down to the raw definition of leadership, is to get someone to do something. Now, when you're looking at business, when you're looking at negotiation, when you're looking at everything you've got there, it's about being able to align people to get them to do something. Now, a couple of my, suppose you say, mentors in amongst it, Dan Martell has one there, and he says 80% of what you can do, if it's 100% done by someone else, it's fucking awesome. All right. Doesn't matter how good people are. It's about being able to get them to do a particular thing that you need done. Now, when you look at leadership, there are different types of leaders. Now, everyone thinks you have to be locked into one particular channel or one specific type of leader. Definitely not. The best leaders are people that are going to be able to jump. So you could be in a boardroom where you're in there very diplomatic. You walk outside, you could be very authoritarian of someone who just continues to do the same thing again. And then when you put that into play with things like your 3T rules, you train, tolerate, or terminate, and you look at the ways you then manage people as a leader, it's about strategic direction. It's about getting people to always have that motivation. But at the same time, it's also having empathy at times, where you might have someone walks into your office that's had a family matter and you wonder why their performance has dropped off. So the leadership factor always comes back to one thing, which is you've got to lead yourself first. Famous words by John Maxwell. To lead others, must first lead yourself. personal development is the big one. And we've discussed this actually on our podcast. We had a bit there as well, where the personal development factor, if you're not stable internally, you can't lead people externally in a stable manner. If you're erratic, they're going to be erratic. If you're calm, they're calm. And a lot of business owners, this is one of the first places, I'm sure you're the same as well. One of the first places you start is working on that mindset. You put the mindset into place. You start to design the characteristics of a high performance person, of a leader that can then start to lead other people. There's so many factors in that one. And throw it back. Have the listeners would be a good thing for you. Get them to bring some of their questions forward. I'd love to sit down and actually discuss a few of those with you. There's so many things in leadership.
Yeah. No, I love it, mate. It was so powerful and so true. Those different elements and being able to, lead from the front. And, I think you put a couple of amazing points there, right? And the area of like, I think let's talk about the mindset side here, because you touched on that point, which I think definitely deserves a deeper look into it, right?
Definitely.
Because, you know, like you understand, right? We can teach the same people, 10 people the same thing, and we're going to get 10 different results. And most of the time it's because of their mindset is different, right? There's different things that are holding them back, everything like that. And that then also impacts like their habits and things of what they do naturally. So talk a bit more around that mindset side about like, maybe some of the biggest problems, the way we should be thinking about certain things in business and I guess certain habits that reflect that. Behaviors is another word maybe to use that allow us to move forward even in those, challenging times.
And a good way to look at it, mindset is a big thing. So depending on where you are, you can't compare your level 1 to someone's level 20 when you're looking at mindset. Everyone's going to have their own level, and a lot of it depends on what your definition of success is. Some people have the definition of success of being rich. Some people, it's lots of items. And in our circles where we are, it's to do what you want with who you want when you want. So there are different levels of what success are. The mindset at each level is completely different. And we go through a 4-stage strategy of mindset, strategy, action, result. What that allows us to do is every time you get to a result, you reset your mindset, go again. Now, when you look at mindset, there's a big thing on understanding how the mind actually works. You've got a conscious, subconscious, in the middle, what's known as a critical faculty, which is like an internal filter. Right. So your conscious is developing the decisions you make today. It's looking at what happens and the information you absorb. But there's so much information that your body will basically distort or delete certain information because it's processing so much. It'll only take what it sees as important at the time. So what it'll do, it'll either delete something, just completely get rid of it. So an example of that, for those of you who've got teenage kids, come on, time to jump off the video game. Yeah. I asked you to take the bin out. Yeah. You never told me that. What they do is they've got their focus so heavily on the game that they don't hear what's happening around them because their mind goes, it's not important, delete that information. That happens in day-to-day, happens in communication in teams very regularly. And it's about also knowing how you lead and how you absorb that information as well. So you got deleting, you come to distorting. Okay, so a very big one of this, all of us have probably been in workplaces where you go, I asked you to do this. No, this is what I heard you to do, so I did this. Two complete different things, but a similar variation. What it is your brain hasn't basically taken that information into your conscious to the point where it's got a clear picture. So what happens is it distorts it to something it knows. And then you've got a generalization. A generalization is it will relate something back to what it knows. All right, so if you've got a particular experience, particular bit of knowledge, it'll take something that's unfamiliar and it'll adapt it to what you already know. But what this does in mindset and when you're looking at communication is that it distorts your perception of the world around you. Now, that perception around you could be in communication, it could be in teamwork, it could be the way you run your business, but even more so, how does it distort the world around you and how your mindset is in the particular room, place, or position that you're in? So if you look at, well, without being political in the way, we'll say the people in the lower ranks of society, their mindset and down in that lower area is always what happened. It happened to me. It happened to me because I'm this sort of person, or it always happens to me. You get someone who's up in that successful level, they don't think like that. They don't have time to stop for negativity. They don't have time to turn around and attack other people. They look and go, that didn't go to work. How can I make it work better? And what do I need to do to stop it recurring? So the mindset is a very, very strong factor. Everything from doing things like your affirmations, right? Limiting beliefs. What limits you? So looking at things like generational trauma is a big thing. what you were taught as a child or what you were taught through school is not necessarily the perception of today's world. So an example of that is we're moving from an industrial age and we're moving through now into a technology age. So you can't use skills from the industrial age, which is what the schools are teaching now, and take them into the world of AI as an example, all right, and into the way of technology. So what happens is the mindset has to change. And this is where continuous improvement and that adaptiveness happens. What happens is you create limiting beliefs. Now, if you want a good one to have a look at on YouTube, there's a John Wayne video of a kid that's sitting there fishing, and he goes, "You can't catch your fish because you're on the wrong side of the creek. Go to the other side." He goes, "I can't swim." He goes, "What?" Picks him up, throws him in the water. So the kid's sitting there, swims to the other side and goes, "Hey, look, I did it." The mother turns up and goes, "How's he going to get back?" "Well, he's going to swim back." "Well, he can't swim." Mother goes, "Well, okay. How's he going to get back then?" He goes, "Well, you go and get him." What happens is she goes, "Well, I can't swim." That relates back to mindset and a little bit into leadership and influence as well, where the mother's got a problem that she's passed on. That could be a leader onto a team. That could be a business owner onto their managers. It's about being able to go over those limiting beliefs, design your mindset for what you want to become, not what you are right now. At the same time, continuous improvement. You should be assessing this on a regular basis. As soon as you change your mindset, your world around you changes. However, it's more the perception of that world and the control you've got in your own world. So definitely when it comes to personal, team, and business, mindset is the number one factor.
Yeah, I love that. There was so much gold in there that, Daniel shared there. And, there's a lot of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming
Oh,
on how
yes.
things work in that area. So I recommend people, if you want to learn more about this, I can connect you to one of the, the top trainers outside of this. But, it's so powerful because then there's an awareness that you have, right, about your thoughts and you can change them, right? You're not just doing the same thing every day and expecting a different result, which is insanity, right? You're actually
Definition of insanity from Einstein. Lovely saying. It's written right across my board here.
exactly right. So we can change things. A lot of people just think it's circumstances, things happen to them, but things are happening for you, right? We can choose what we want to do. So so powerful on what Daniel shared there, and being able to change what happens. And also, like, we've got young children, right? So it's also now passing these things on. When you have this awareness going, not passing on limiting things, right, to the next generation, and then giving them empowering beliefs, so that because then they have less crap they have to work through when they're getting older to be able to create the success or enjoy the life that they want, right?
We've all been there.
Exactly. So I love it, man. That was really, really powerful. Let's switch it up now again, and go to systems. And I love systems. Systems is one of my favorite topics.
My left brain friend loves systems. Now you're speaking my language.
That's it. I was fortunate. My parents took me to a place in Adelaide called Future Kids at 6 years old, or Windows 3.1. I got to learn off computers at a young age, a bit like the kids are getting it obviously even earlier now.
That's all green and black computers back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, and blue screen. That's right. It was, all single
Yep.
colors, very different on how it was to what it is today. So yeah, systems so important in business, right? Because we've got people, but we want to be able to automate things, and there's so many different areas of systems. We'll probably delve deeper, but tell us from your perspective, what are systems to you, and how can we, the importance of them, implement them, into our business.
Systems are great. Now, like I said, you're my love language here. Systems, I'm very heavy brain, very analytic. Systems allow you to replicate something. Doesn't matter if you look at the simplistic behind it, doesn't matter who steps into that system. If you have the same system in place, you should get the same result at the end of it. So where you start and where you finish should be the same every time. And when you look at it, everything from systems on a computer, which basically is a coded system or something that gives a direction. Let's bring this back into business. So Business Growth Show, systems are your policies and procedures. They are designed to keep it going through. Now, one of the analogies are probably the easiest way to give this. You think of a block of cheese. So you look at Swiss cheese, got all the holes through it. If you go and slice it up into all these different sections, all right, not the same size, different sizes, and you start turning all those slices in different directions, what happens is eventually a heap of those holes through that cheese are going to line up. That's a failure within a system. Now, that whole block of cheese could be a finance system, could be customer service, it could be production. A system is a collective of processes, and each of those slices is a process within that system, I should say. Now, what happens is every time you have a fail, you then adapt to that system by putting a new process into place. But what happens is that it's now a replicable, as a mouthful for this time of morning, you can replicate the same outcome every time. Now, the other thing is it gives clarity to teams. It gives clarity to yourself and your leadership because they know exactly what you want done. At the same time, it also builds things like confidence in your customers. So an example of one of those would be the ISO 9001 system, which is a quality management system in businesses. It's about how do I maintain quality? But it starts from here is my environmental, here's my team, here's how I train, here's the paperwork I keep. You look at a system, they are a collective of all these different processes to get a particular outcome. So you can put that into personal development, leadership, or business. The big thing in that is it gives clarity, it gives direction.
Yeah, love it, mate. So true. And it's funny, right? It's like when you understand this, and it actually frees the business owner up. I think this is the biggest thing, right? Is like because the business owner is
Definitely.
involved too much in the business, and how do I, duplicate my brain? It's like, well, the systems are the answer, right? So that you
Oh,
can.
our friend JT has managed to duplicate his brain. But yes, the business owner is 9 out of 10 times the bottleneck in every business. We've all been there. And even now, as we go to new heights, what's JT say? A new level, new devil. Every time you reach that new level of business, there's going to be a new bottleneck that you become. You put into place a system, you hand it off, and you move forward.
Yeah, definitely love it, mate. And let's talk about AI since we touched on it a little bit there as well, because it is changing the game, right? With
Oh,
technology
definitely.
now, and it's moving very quickly. A lot of people, probably have just used Chat GPT to some minor element, so they know a little bit about it, but they don't really understand it. And I love this sort of topic. But yeah, give it from your perspective of what you're seeing with AI and maybe how you're using a little bit to get people some awareness of what's possible out there.
AI is the way of the future. When you look at AI, what we've got coming up, you won't be able to survive without it because people that are already putting into place are doing things faster, better, more efficient. When you look at that, I use it religiously every day. So I use it for merger and acquisition deals. I use it for my finances. I use it for my team, my policies, procedures. What I used to do in 2 days, I'll do in 2 hours. So it's a lot more efficient. However, it also has its own devil behind it where it hallucinates. If you don't keep it within certain lines, you can't take it as 100 verbatim. So I'll use an example. There are people that use it for, we'll say, coaching. Oh, yep, Chat GPT can do the same. That's where experience and the knowledge behind it comes in, that when you see those faults within it, you can actually do it. That's where the business experience comes in, that it's giving you an analysis. You've always got to inspect what you expect on it. So AI makes things a lot faster, but you've also still got to have that human element. It's going to change the way marketing's done. Not going to, it already is. What I used to do with 5 or 6 people, I now do one person. I can manage 15 customers where I used to manage one per person. You look at business, when they start automating production lines, cost will come down. Now, the big fear I think people have is that AI is going to take over jobs. You're probably right. It will take over jobs. However, we'll come back to the mindset. Every job that gets lost, you adapt your skills and there'll be another job. For every piece of AI, there's someone's got to run it. There are still things that you need human factor. So they're not going to be able to have a doctor done by AI. All right. So I'll use an example. They're not going to have AI that can build a road. So AI does definitely have a very big impact, allows a lot more knowledge to be compacted into a smaller space, faster, better, more efficient. All right. For Francie Baldwin, we all know her famous words for that one. And when you look at it, if you haven't started to implement it into your business already, you're already behind the 8 ball. So I use it on pretty well all of my systems, on all of my processes. They're all done by AI. However, you need to inspect what you expect on that and basically review everything it does. That's where the business knowledge and experience really comes into play when you're actually doing that. So
Yeah.
yes, AI, very big way of the future.
Definitely, mate. I agree. It's changing the game. So get into it, everyone, right? And start having a play. Start aiming to use it a little bit at least every day. Become more aware. Learn about it, and then go. Okay, how can I, start to automate things and that out there. And I think you put a really great point around. We're both business coaches, mentors, right? That side of things where you can't just take AI. So you don't just put it through AI, copy paste, or it's done. You need to be
Definitely
able
not.
to have a lens of understanding. And I'm the same with my clients. I make sure that I'm upskilling them in the knowledge, right? So when they look at a situation, or if they're outsourcing something, right? We can talk about marketing soon, for example, but to a marketing agency, you know enough about marketing that they're doing the right thing, right? You don't just, put your hands off and go, oh, the AI or the outsourced person or something knows. You got to know enough about that topic, or be able to ask and learn from a business coach mentor that can teach you, right, about these things, so that you can then do that, as well as then the execution side, right? Because execution is everything in the business, and that's what AI can't really give you, right? Is that sort of accountability and ensuring that you're going to execute, the strategies that are going to be happening in the business. So I'd love to know, like, your perspective. I know we've got coaches and mentors, obviously ourselves as well. Is how important coaching mentoring's been for you, is what it's helped you to achieve.
And you touched on it there, and I sort of went, coaching and mentoring is invaluable. They can do basically 15 years of self-learning can be compacted down into 1 to 2 years. It's about having someone in your corner. And it was funny because, as you said, a couple of things there with like businesses, especially marketing, that just run nothing but AI. You look at two of the different industries. Marketing and coaching are two industries where I will say I've got my own limiting beliefs, because there's a lot of people in those industries that go and do a YouTube course or go and do a 3-day course with someone, and all of a sudden they're an NLP coach, they're a business coach, they're a marketing expert. You can use AI to a certain level there, but then you bring it back into the experience. And that's where a coach is invaluable. You've got someone to bounce ideas off. You've got an external view of what you're looking at. Now, a lot of people go out there and look for coaches that they want to enable what they're doing. Oh, yeah, you're doing great. Well, actually, no, you're not doing great. You need to change this, this, and this. There are some coaches. I'm a very directive coach. When I go through things, I've seen some of the stuff you do. You're the same. It's no, you need to be this way. Being military and ex-law enforcement, I'm a little bit brutal on some of my clients. However, you don't want someone who enables you and just allows you to keep doing the same mistake over and over again. Coaching holds you accountable. Coaching gives you direction, but also mix that up now with mentoring, two complete different processes. Coaching is directive, where mentoring is asking you promptive questions to allow you to explore the answers. Now, we don't really use a framework as such. There is a framework there, but think of a bookcase with a heap of different books. A lot of the coaches in the industry, they go and do their 3 to 5 day course, and they're now a business coach or a personal life coach. An example, 21-year-old life coaches. Okay, so the experience there. Now you go to a bookcase, think of a bookcase of someone who comes out of school, they've got 2 to 3 books on it. You look at the level we're at, we've got 5, 6, 7 rows, all these different books, and it's about being able to pull that skill or that knowledge off there and go, here is the particular book you need, here is the knowledge you need, here is the resource you need. A coach, when you do that, needs to be able to hold you accountable, needs to have done what you're trying to do. So we've both been in the 7-figure club. And when you look at that, only 7% of businesses, so we've got 2.66 million businesses here in Australia at the moment, which means 186,000 of those have actually hit 7 figures or more. When you look at that, I've held a couple that have been over there. You've been in the 7-figure club, but a lot of coaches, the only business they've had is their coaching business. So when you're going to look at coaching, go and have a look at their experience. Go and have a look at what they're actually doing. So coaching for me is only 20% of my work. The other 80% is in merger and acquisition and partnerships. So I've got a lot of other things happening. What I do then is I look at also my coaches. So we're both in the JT Fox network, where we get coached by very high level people. Adam Coffey in merger and acquisition. What we do is we're upskilling, and what we do in 12 months, we then condense that down into 2 or 3 months of training to the people that we coach. So it is a very, very valuable. And it's not just coaching in business. It could be leadership, could be personal, could be business, could be finance. What you need to do is find out where you haven't got that knowledge or that skill, where you need to strengthen, which is one of your weaknesses, and yeah, get the help. And definitely, very, very big thing. And I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for coaches I've had.
Yeah, completely agree, mate. I'm the same. And it's compressed time. It's allowed us to grow so much more, less failure, more success, and just, grow so many levels up. So yeah, so important. And I guess, when you're putting things together, It's understanding, like what Daniel said there, right? Is what's the background, right? Is it just someone did a course to be it, or did they have a business beforehand, like us, right? Or we still have other businesses that we're doing on top of the coaching, right? So we're actively doing it, right? We're actively doing business. We're not just doing the coaching, in that sense, which I think is so important. We're doing deals, other things like that, like we're working on, right? I'm looking at deals and partnerships and other things like that as well, right? So it's find the people that are actually doing it, learn from them to get you to where you want to be. So I love that. Let's talk about M&A now, right? You touched on it a little bit before with the negotiation side, but generally mergers and acquisitions, for those people who don't know what we're talking about here. So, like acquiring companies as an example. I think this is a very important way of growth, let's call it here, right? Because we can grow organically.
Definitely.
We can grow with an advertising strategy or things like that. But then M&A is a whole nother level, right? Of growth, like for a business, whether it's a new industry or tapping onto that. So tell us, some of these benefits of M&A and what people should be thinking about if they're, wanting to get into M&A.
Very good question. And I've actually had this question through a few of my clients that come on board. It's what do we need to know? The very first thing is learn. If you're not learning, you're going backwards. You need to be learning and know business inside out and back to front. It's no good trying to buy, measure, scale businesses without knowing how to run a business. All right. Now, I'll get rid of one of the limiting beliefs. You need money to make money. It's a limiting belief. There are hundreds of different ways that you can structured deals to go into it. Now, merger and acquisition has some very big benefits where you start a business from scratch. You've got to start your procedures, slowly build your team, increase revenue, make sure your marketing, your messaging, everything's right. But you buy a business that's already 5 years into there, they've already done all that. You buy a business that's 10 years in and already hit certain levels, they've already put everything into place to hit those levels you need. Now, if you're going out to look at getting into the merger and acquisition or M&A background, the big thing will be make sure that you have got someone like a coach or someone behind you that can help you to get through the challenges you're going to face. Everything from putting deals together, assessing the finance, assessing the true value of a company. All right, so EBITDA is how you look at that. And for those who don't know, equity before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization. It's a way of purely valuing a company, not just, oh yeah, I think my company's worth here or here's a goodwill. When you go out and you start talking to investors, you start talking to banks, you start talking to people that are going to come on board as partners, they're going to want to look at the true value. What are your tangible assets? There are so many different factors in M&A, but it all starts right back with learning. Learn to run a business, start something small, go get yourself a coach, go to free. Like we've got this free webinars and seminars everywhere. So we've got ourselves, I'm not sure if you run them, but I run free courses just on merger and acquisition. We literally do 1 hour and 3 hour masterclasses. I've seen a bit of your training, and especially on your podcast, I've heard where you're discussing merger and acquisition specific. If you want to go into it, get into the rooms where people are doing it. Start looking at all the different things. So when you look at LVR, people go, what the hell's that? All right. And there's something to go and have a look at. Go and have a look at what LVR is, and you'll see exactly what it is. When they talk about these sorts of things, these are critical, some like what you say, equations and factors that you need to take in. Because if you buy the wrong business and you buy a dog with fleas, it's going to sink you very quickly. You go and try to buy 4 or 5 businesses, it could be a $20 million acquisition. There's very few people with $1 million sitting on the table. They go, yep, there it is. However, you get the right information, you learn how to put together your deal packages, but then on the other side of that is being able to scale that business. Right. Once you do get to a point you actually manage to get that business, you then got to scale it rapidly. Now, generally 3 to 5 years is what you look at for merger and acquisition deal. And scaling could be everything from post-acquisition strategy of selling off stock, getting rid of tangible stuff, selling data. So tangible assets, that is data. You could be looking at how to grow the market. You acquire 3 or 4 businesses, merge them together, and you centralize management, which means you're getting rid of 4 or 5 people in that upper level. There are so many strategies in it. The advantage to it is you can very rapidly grow from where you are to where you want to be. That's the big thing in merger and acquisition. What it takes you 5 years to do in one job, right, or one business, you can do 15 to 20 years of growth in 3 years. So it condenses down the growth factor of what you want to become. Now, the big factor, like I said, mindset and learning will be the first 2 factors. Once you get those into place, go and play. But the merger and acquisition world's great. I love it. It's like a game of chess. If I move one part, what happens next? I mean, I've got competitors that are doing the same job as me that are taking businesses out from underneath me, all because I didn't do a deal quick enough, or I didn't have the right deal, or they've come in and had something that I haven't. It's about going, what strategy you use? I'm going to take that chess piece and I'm going to put it on my board. So very, very much like the fun factor of it and practice business daily. But yeah, it's a very good world. And yeah, reach out if you do want to get into M&A, because I'm sure the two of us have got more than enough contacts and ideas for it.
Yeah, lovely points there. And I want to confirm a couple of what Daniel said, right? Is you definitely got to learn a lot about it, be around the conversation, right? And if you want to get into it very quickly, find people like Daniel and myself that understand a lot better, because you can partner, right? Like you could bring deals to us and we could do a deal together potentially, or, other areas like that, right? It's getting out of the thing that you're doing it all yourself, right? I think that partnering type of mentality, right, is how can we can do more together. So I think it's a really great point of what you said. And it's really powerful, right? When you do these strategies, it's like you start to play a very different game in what you're doing. And don't buy the dog with fleas. I've analyzed a lot of deals and I've walked away where other people going, oh, we could sort of make it work. I go, no, there's red flags here. If we do this, it's going to take up a lot of time and money probably. And like you said, you could sink your ship or something like that. So you don't want to just go in, blind into some of these deals, because you're going to make sure you're doing your due diligence, that there's nothing bad under the hood that's going to affect you, at a later time. So
definitely. And the time you spend now could be put forward into something that's going to propel you forward afterwards. Some people spend way too much time on deals. Our average, so we're doing between 60 and 70 businesses per week we're assessing. Our average assessment time, and here we go, coming from direct, average assessment time right now is 7 minutes. So 7.3, so 7 minutes, 35 seconds is our average deal on that. So when you look at it and you know what you're looking for, it becomes a very quick process. But like you said, dog with fleas, don't waste your time. And if you've got one like that, put the exit in mind first. So we were talking earlier about strategic direction. If you know you want to exit your business, a strategic direction is you need to have it ready for the merger and acquisition world, or to be able to sell it. A sellable business is a profitable business.
that's right. And it's not as reliant on the owner, right? There's a lot of systems in place.
Definitely not.
So it's easy for them to move on, right? If that's what you're wanting to do as well. So yeah, mate, you've shared so much gold with us here today, Daniel. And I guess as we're starting to wrap up, what one key piece of advice would you like to give to all the entrepreneurs watching and listening today?
Good question. I get asked this one quite a lot, and it generally sort of goes between a couple of things. Number one, your mindset is your biggest key. All right, protect your mindset, whether it's emotionally, time, relational capital, whatever you do, your mindset is the key to you succeeding. And the other one is learn. If you're not learning, you're going backwards. If it's learning from mentors, learning from your coaches, learning from courses, but learn the right material that continues to build your mindset. Don't learn material that can take you backwards. So don't go to a 21-year-old life coach when you're 50 years of age, as an example. Okay, the learning, number one. Number two is that mindset. No person that's successful has ever got or I won't say they haven't, you won't see a negative mindset. And if you've got a negative mindset, you won't get to the tables you need for merger and acquisition. You won't get to partnership. They are the two biggest factors in it.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Completely agree. So important for everyone to focus on, and that will, help to create success. We connected through our networks where I learned about your awesome journey from, being in the military to now, being an international business and leadership coach, among doing M&A and partnerships and all the other fun stuff that we love to do.
It's all a game.
That's it, mate. And you're an awesome guy. It's an honor. You shared a lot of gold with us here today, and I'm sure you continue to help people unlock, scalable success. Very grateful that we connected, and look forward to partnering with you. So, Daniel, how can people find you and get in touch with you?
No, thank you very much. And I will say, been a very big pleasure. And I hope a lot of people do get value out of what we've sort of discussed. We've had a few good conversations. If you want to reach out to me, danielkingstonofficial.com. Go through my website, plenty of information in there, but there's a contact button that'll go through to either myself or my team. Most of the time, the team will pick it up. If not, you can go through there. It'll have a number of different contacts as emails and stuff there change. Same time, social medias, you'll find me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn are the three that I'm primarily on. I've also got a team there at the same time. So reach out. Even if you've got questions, have a look at the training we do. Same time, we do partner. We are looking at buying businesses regularly. So if you're in the trade businesses or anywhere in the building trade area, and you've got things like a bidder of 500 or more, those sorts of things. And anyone that's in that game will know what I'm talking about. Reach out. We're always looking for opportunity.
Yeah. Awesome, mate. Well, definitely check out Daniel there on the website, on the socials. If you want to get into that space, that the M&A, and just connect and see where it goes from there, mate. It's been a pleasure interviewing you, and thanks for being on the Business Growth Show.
No worries. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure, and hope your listeners got plenty of gold out of today.
Thank you for watching and listening to the Business Growth Show, where we talk about everything on business growth. And please like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as Ethan Cassiotis, or visit my website, ethancassiotis.com. And if you want to grow and scale your business, you can reach out to me on any platform to see if we're a good fit. So until next time, remember that our business grows where we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. So let's create wealth and freedom together.